Thank you. So please, Monica, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you and sorry for the inconvenience, the technical inconvenience. Well, my talk today is, as my presenter, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here invited for this session. It's a big pleasure for me, and also to keep in contact with the German colleagues, which is a great opportunity for me. Because, it's a long time since we have been in contact, and it's a pleasure to keep going and to enlarge the links with German scientists and cartographers. So, many of you might know that Spain in general, due to the historical situation, has had a very important role in cartographic development through history, and especially Andalusia, the region where I live in the south of Spain, because of its position and because, the whole trip from Columbus on discovering the new continent started in Andalusia, in the Atlantic coast. That determined, together with the fact that we were almost to Spain and Portugal were very close at the moment, were the two big nations really discovering the world, that we were in many respects ahead in cartographic milestones at the time. So today we are going to have this like a historical insight, and also, taking that historical facts into the present of this, especially the Andalusian government, which is very much ahead, advanced in relation to many other regions of Spain. It's not, and in the context, in many respects, to other parts of Europe. But just what I know more, that it's in the context of many other parts of Spain and governments. The Spanish, the Andalusian government is very, very much ahead in innovation in relation to cartography, in part because many of the people responsible of those sections, those departments in the government, were geographers, were cartographers, or have studied, and that made that they were conscious of the importance of the new ways of cartographic development and in terms of technology. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to start. And as I was saying, many of the development depends, or it's very much determined by where Andalusia is located. That you already know that we are the southernmost region in Europe and the northernmost area closest to Africa, and especially the fact that we were just the only door out in old times to the Atlantic oceans from the old civilizations around the Mediterranean. That made the fact that it was represented since very, very, very early times. So the geographical location of Andalusia makes that fact that it was represented as a really important geographical feature in order to get out. It was the end of the known world in the early times. So you see, if we have a satellite image of where Andalusian, it is really very, very close to the north of Africa, to Morocco. This is the Strait of Gibraltar. This is actually Gibraltar, the Bay of Algeciras. And this is just this strait is just 13 kilometers, which makes that actually we have many the migration situation it's a natural way into Europe. And this is why the migration situation is very hard and very, very sad. And there are many people dying trying to cross this strait now, but the present day. Also, you see the symbol of Andalusia makes these two columns. There were the Hercules columns with the lions, because in the Greek times it was supposed that these two sides, also we have here the Betic system mountain range with quite high altitudes, that it's in Sierra Nevada, that it's here even with snow. So this is, and the Atlas system, that is actually the same mountain system, that made like the two columns of Hercules just before the end of the world. It was just coming to the Atlantic Sea. And we can see, this is a map of the Greeks, where we can, it's already represented this column that still nowadays belongs to the, well, to the symbol of the region. So all these geographical situations made Andalusia that to be very, very early represented. Here we have an antiquity image of the peninsula and the Betic that is very famous because it was obviously by Claudius Ptolemy, and you can see the peninsula here. So that will be Andalusia, that will be the Betic. Andalusia will be the southernmost, and is here where there was supposed to be these two columns. So this is France, and this is one of the first in the second set. And this is actually a map from the Middle Ages, but representing what it was, what is very shown in the Ptolemy image. So this is it's part of the Secundae Tabulae Europae, that it's actually in the National Library of Spain. So you see, since the very early times, we have important representation. This is actually the first, also from Ptolemy, but reinterpreted later on in the 18th century. And this is the first spatial representation of Andalusia. So we have here Tanger. This is also, there are many coastal changes since then. This is the Guadalquivir, and we can see all the region represented, Lusitania, which is Portugal, and this is the Mediterranean Sea, Mare Ibericum, and the Mare Exteriorus, the external sea. And it was the end of this known world, as we were saying. So this, then we have another important milestone due to the fact that in very early times, we had a very wise San Isidoro de Sevilla was a very wise man that really was made another very simple representation after this period of what it was Europe, and then represented the Mare Magnum as the center in a very important and significant book where there was the etymologies, where it was one of the first geographical science study book. This is why this man in Seville, where I live, is really, there are many statues and pictures representing San Isidoro, because he was a very wise man that did this first geographical book, and one of them were differently dedicated, but there was the book 14 was to physical geography, which is very surprising, 17 to geology, 19 to navigation. So and it was representing the orbus terrarum, that it was the known world, the physical, the representation in this flat and simple way, inconvenient, just following the religious rules of this time. But it was just more than in a cartographical sense. It was to show this, or to let you know about this very important book, geographical book, that it was very in the 5th and 6th century, really produced in Seville. The next milestone that we have, it's also that is not normally so much mentioned, is the Islamic, the Muslim period that we had in Spain, and especially in Andalusia. We were ruled by the Muslim for 18 centuries, since It is written there since 711 till 1492. We were ruled by Muslims, but in a very, very advanced society, very sophisticated, really highly cultural and intellectual and scientific. There were cartographers, there were literatures, and also they took all the knowledge of the Greeks and really bring it. It's thanks to them that in Europe we have many of the knowledge from the Greeks has been preserved thanks to these caliphs, these empires, Muslim empires that were ruling most of Spain for so long. And they really, the Andalusian scientists were really outstanding. We're really developing new ideas, and we have many examples of these cultures. They were really, really well, like schools of cartography, of science that were mainly centered in the capital, that it was Cordoba. Then this is why we have the mosque in Cordoba still so beautiful and standing out. And all this really like promote a big development of cartography and many instruments related to navigating, to sailing. Actually, I saw many of them. I had the opportunity to saw them in many of the museums in Germany. So you see, it stands out one of the figures of al-Idrisi. Al-Idrisi was really outstanding cartography of the moment that produced this map, which is really very, very well known. It's a very precious cartography. And the name was, he divided the earth, or the known earth, in climatic regions, in 7 climatic regions or latitude zones or sections, and creating a grid which each of them were represented. It was commissioned to produce this map by the Norman King of Sicily, Roger II, around in the 12th century in Palermo. So one of the most nice things we can say about this map is the completely different perspective, because it's orientated south. So this will be like Andalusia. This is Malaga here, Algeciras in the Strait of Gibraltar, and this is the north of Africa. So really the European center vision of the world in this map is upside down to our normal way of representing the world. So it's really one, and actually, if you can see, it's in it's in the bibliothèque in France, but it has also. And then meanwhile, we have also these portulanos, this navigating charge, that because of all this history of discovering the new world from the Spanish and Portuguese people, really were these portunal chants were really also very, very significant. It was obviously focused on the coastal and islands because they were really represented to sail, and some of them are still some of the things represented are still not so well known, and especially this first chart that it's anonymous, that it's from 1290, and it's called like the Carta Grisana, and it is really really outstanding. So it's again in France. So this development, then we have a very important cartographer that it's Juan de la Cosa. Juan de la Cosa made this representation really beautiful, really, really beautiful, that it's really worth it for having a look, because it's very beautiful the way it is represented of the world. So it's one of the main that it was also he did it, Juan de la Cosa. The Catholic monarchs had a new vision of the world, and they wanted to promote the power and all these new territories for the monarchy of Spanish monarchy, and it was all the new properties of the monarchy that they wanted to show off to all the people. So we can see here the Iberian Peninsula, and then it's how they started representing the new continent and Africa, which is very, very well. The three kings coming for Christmas is also represented, or the trade of the species also represented. So this is a very important cartographer. So it's Juan de la Cosa made this very important representation of our territory. And then in the modern age, then we have, so this is just some milestone related to this, the age of conquering or discovering, more the conquering, that is incorrect, discovering this new world for the European monarchies, and also Spain as heading this, and with Portugal. But then in the modern age, we also have a very important situation, especially centered in Seville. Again, it's not because I live in Seville, it's because all the administrative setting of all the trades between America and Spain and was settled first in Seville and then moved to Cadiz, which is at the Atlantic coast, because of problems. Just going Seville, it's in the river Guadalquivir, and because of sailing problems, because of sediments, had to move in the modern age later to Cadiz. But there was settled what it was named La Casa de la Contratación. That it's still, the building, it's still, we can visit it still in Seville. And it was a court, a school, a commercial center, and it was all the trade related to the Indies was really centered there. So it was really a big, let's say, school and an atmosphere of this navigation needs and knowledge, that it was really, and together with the boats that were every day or just very frequently coming from the Indies. So really that makes that Seville was the center of the world at that time, and that money coming, especially money and all this commercial activity, really promote extraordinary development in terms of the nautical knowledge, and also all the cartographic also production related to sailing and knowing the territory that it was required. So this Casa de la Contratación, that, as I said, is still we can still visit it today, was established, created in 1503 by the Catholic monarchs, and up until through the 16th century was really the center of all this commercial and sailing activity. And that really lasted until the 7th century, and this was called the Casa de Océano. And many important figures of navigation and cartographic production were really took place in this context of the House of the Ocean, or the Casa de la Contratación. This is a very nice picture of the time around the 17th century, and you can see how busy really the harbor of Seville. This is the cathedral, La Giralda, which is the basement is the Muslim tower with the Christian top. And we can see that it was really the most important harbor of Europe at the moment. And this is due to all the expeditions going, and it was to the Indies, and all the trade was controlled here, all the commercial activities. This is also why Seville is still in the Casa de las Indias, one of the main centers for research, where we get researchers coming from all over the world, because we still kept all these documents, historical documents, and it's one of the very important centers for research of that time in the world. So one of the main, of the first figure is Jerónimo de Chaves. There was really a very outstanding man in this Casa de la Contratación, and it was in this place where they would start first printing, locally printing, and specifically dedicated to represent the region. So this one of the main authors was this Jerónimo de Chaves, that he was professor of cosmography in this Casa de la Contratación, and he started producing, or just encouraging the production of this more local cartography of Andalusia. So really, it was one of the main, let's say, characters that really were promote cartographic development at the time. And this map that dates from 1579, it corresponds to one of the initial publication of a very important production, that it was the Theatrum Orbis Terrarum, considered the first atlas of, in a modern sense, produced first by the Flemish cartographer and publisher Abraham Ortelius, that you all know, and this is a part of of this atlas, but concerning Andalusia. So together, Seville and this Flemish center were both poles of this cartographic representation, new representation in the 1760, from the 16th to the 17th century. And it's actually but this is the one produced by Jerónimo Chaves in Amberes, where he went to print using the knowledge of this other big center in Flanders, in the north of Europe. So it was this knowledge, and obviously it's very important because we have represented here many of the towns, the relief. It's a very beautiful representation that he did. This is also another chart of Andalusia, but it was not produced in our region, in Seville, with this Casa de la Contratación. It's from Henry Michelot, Lauren Bremont and Starkman, and it was, it is in Marseille in 1723. But it is gathered in the National Geographical Institute of Madrid, and it's also only or mainly centered in the coastal area, just for sailing. So it's another important milestone for Andalusia in terms of cartography. And here is a very, very peculiar and really weird cartography that we, in a very unexpected context, appeared as well. And it's called, in the modern age, the Jesuits map. Actually, it's one of the main works of the Spanish cartography of the modern age, especially because of the details that you can appreciate of the relief of the landforms. You can see that it's really, really very precisely and detail all the mountain ranges, the geographical features. And well, really, it meant that it was a completely revolution in the 18th century, this representation, and it's really because there was a need of have a new representation of Spain with much more accuracy, because the modern governments, especially we had a really important monarch, Charles III, that we was really developed a very modern concept of the ruling of the state, with the statistic, with many books describing geography, agriculture, like the natural resources of the country, to control really the resources of the country. And there was this need of having a new cartographic representation, and then for this political and administrative management and development that they wanted to promote in the country. So this is, and actually it was committed, this new map that they needed to have, to the Jesus Society, los Jesuitas, which, you know, it's a religious, a very powerful and very people very wise and very with very intellectual development. It was in charge, this commitment of producing this new representation of Spain by the Jesuits community. And finally, it ended up like done by two of the fathers of this society, Carlos Martinez and Claudio de la Vega. And it is why it has this special name of being called the Jesuit map. Actually, as you can say, it is not a whole sheet. You can see it's produced in squares. And actually, this is, well, it is a new vision that it was produced in order to have like the whole vision of the map, but actually you can say it is produced in different squares. And where there were some geometric problems, it's not in terms of the projection of the map, but nevertheless, it's a really, really outstanding map for this very precious and precise representation of the geographical features. And this is also in the Spanish library garden. So this is a very important map in the cartographic history of Spain. Then in the 18th century, we have this competition, let's say, with the Flemish and Dutch producers of cartography, and French as well. And then we get other representations coming from abroad, let's say, also printed in Germany, Italy, or England. And these foreign publishers also began to represent Spain, and also took many of the advances that were produced during these 6 centuries that we already talked about, were taken by all these countries. So the knowledge produced in this from this Tomás López or other important Andalusian cartographers were really imported to these other big centers of cartographic production in Europe. So this is an example of section of Andalusia, of the Andalusian region, by especially, I just picked up because of the conference, the German geographer Franz Ludwig, I might not pronounce it correctly, Güsselfeld, who credited well, and who really thanks for this Francisco Llobet and Tomás López from this school that we talked before, for bringing this knowledge for in their academic or this cartographic learning that he got. So, well, this is another example produced from foreign, actually from Franz Ludwig, also with the more eastern part of Andalusia. This is all the Baetic system, also quite nicely and naive represented, but with very many detailed geographical description. Also, another thing that I wanted to tell you, it's that many of these old maps, you can actually get access to them in the old cartographic section that the local government of Andalusia in the Cartographic and Statistical Institute that I will talk later about. They have all scanned these maps, so they are available on the website at the moment. So if you have here down the link, so if you want to get access to this document, it's a section, it's a specific section of this Cartographic and Statistical Institute where you can get access to these maps that I'm showing and many others that has been just uploaded to the website. So this is very interesting that it's also available, that we have the opportunity to get to these maps on the web. This is also something that I wanted to let you know in case you're interested in getting more time, just enjoying and really of these precious old maps of Andalusia. This is also another representation, another chart from Johannes van Keulen from Amsterdam, where we can also see the Strait of Gibraltar and all the lines of this for navigation, and with also specific description of bays and important sailing points. And then the next milestone that I wanted to highlight, it's the Maritime Atlas of Spain by Don Vicente Tofiño, that it's called like the Atlas of Tofiño. It's a short name. So this Maritime Atlas of Tofiño, it's the San Miguel. It stands out because of his technical characteristics and especially because of the spatial geometry. The charts that we showed before, they stand out because of this description or representation of the geographical topography. But this is really one of the milestones in terms of precision, of spatial geometry, which makes it that it's perfectly adaptable to the modern geographical coordinate system. So this is why it's a document of extraordinary significance and a very, very important contribution in the history of the Spanish cartography. And also because it's like the door that after this work open up many other representations of the Spanish territory, like the publishing or the hydrographic or basins, river basins works later on, and other management maps or cartographic works that really were really important in Spain. So Don Vicente Tofiño was a military man and scientist, and well, during this king, that he was really one of the best kings that we have had in Spain, Charles III, because he was really a very wise monarch and very, very open-minded, that did a lot for Spain in terms of development. And well, he was in charge of the Hydrographic Commission, and this is why he conducted this survey on the Spanish coasts. So this is why I mentioned this Atlas Marítimo de España, this Maritime Atlas of Tofiño at that time. And you can see here parts or charts sheets of this atlas. Well, here's a general overview. Here in the upper right corner, you can see the peninsula. This is kind of the overview, but it was divided as well in sections. And this atlas were with very, very precise representation of the coasts. So it's one of as I was saying, one of the milestones of the Spanish cartographic production. And then we moved closer to the present and the 19th century and onward. We have really a modernization of the cartography, and we have to mention Francisco Coello. So Francisco Coello was an Andalusian geographer, cartographer, and also military engineer. And we mentioned him because he really renovated completely all the cartographic production in the 19th century. And the Coelho Atlas, as it's known, really offers very accurate maps of the Spanish provinces. It's the first representation of the provinces that it's like the base, how Spain is divided in regions, and each region names what is called provinces, and then municipalities. So it's the first representation of the state in this administrative division as we know up to the present. So it's he was a very productive man, and he did really modern representations like topographic, the property, the cadastral maps. Is the first time that we get properly thematic maps and communication, statistical maps. So it's really worth it, keeping in mind this man, Francisco Coello, that was an Andalusian cartographer, very, very outstanding. We can see here some of his production. Here is you're not familiar, but this is Andalusia, and this is the Guadalquivir River Basin, the limits of the River Guadalquivir that, it's just, makes like a division, a natural division in Andalusia in the Guadalquivir Valley, between the Atlantic side and the Mediterranean side. So this is really our first representation of the Guadalquivir River Basin as administrative territory for the management of water, of water management. And then this is an example of Huelva, which is here, is the most western province of Spain. Just this is Portugal. And this is this map of the province as well, but that, as I said, is the first representation of our administrative division in Spain. You can see how detailed and also incorporating different elements, not only like physical representations, but also like other like rivers, towns, and even roads on the map. So this is more close to a topographic map that will come later, just after this production. Well, since then, I want to go a little bit to get to the present. We just mentioned, because it's more common to the development of cartography in each of the European countries. So we have first this, that we already mentioned, the 1861 map of Coelho, of Francisco Coelho. And then just after the maps that we mentioned, it was produced in 1875, the first sheet of the National Topographic Map series that just carried on since then, covering the whole of Spain. So the first sheet was the sheet of Madrid, and then just is carry on. And then, after this topographic map, we have several series of this, or editions of this topographic map then, and this is an example of Andalusia, but in a later series that has been produced. And then we jumped into the present to what is cartography of Andalusia today. Also, I have to thank, because when I was in charge of this talk, I got in contact with one of the directors of the cartographic service of this Institute of Statistics and Cartography of Andalusia, that I encourage you to have a look at the website, because it's really, really interesting, and it has many, many cartographic production that is really ahead in, as I was saying at the beginning. And Agustin Villar, I want to thank him because I got in contact with him in order to kind of update myself with the most relevant products of the Institute. So he offered me one of these slides that you're going to see from now onwards. So I thank him. And also he's the person responsible in many respects. He's not the director, but he's the director in the infrastructure area. He's also a geographer. So you see the division of the institutes is in it's going ahead, it's developing in different lines, in different ways. There's one of basic cartographic production. There's another line of production of going into precision in terms of positioning. Also, it's a big development in compilation of geospatial data, and also everything is built up in the context in an environment of spatial data infrastructure of open services. So it's the production of cartography also. We have a very updated orthophotograph, digital elevation model with different resolution and urban mapping that it's produced from these products, and reference basis. So with this, it's also one of the lines, it's the basis to the scale 1.10,000, that it's from the whole Andalusia, that it's also one of the most interesting thing is not just the products that might be common to many other cartographic institutes, but also the regular updated of these charts, of these products. This is something to be highlighted from this institute, that is not only the production, but the updating of these cartographic products, based mainly on this PNOA, that is the national, let me translate it, is the national planning of orthophotography updating. So this PNOA means this national plan of regularly updating with these flights the information of the territory. So I think this is one of the things that I wanted to really bring here. It's that we are very lucky not only to have so many cartographic and diverse products with the best standards in terms of cartographic and scientific and precision production, but also the updating, the frequent updating, which means that this is really contributing to the policy and the management of the region. I have to say that the PNOA, it's a national plan, but then it has to be carried on at a regional level. And this is what the regional government of Andalusia, since many, many years, and despite, which is also something that has to be mentioned, despite the changes of the political sign of the different governments, has been going on since democracy, since 1978, when we went into the democratic period after the Franco dictatorship period. So this is something also that it should be mentioned, that despite the political changes, this wonderful production and policy in terms of cartography is still going on. Also, another thing that I wanted to highlight is that this all built up in an open source context. So everything is open and everything is, you can have access to any of these products from Germany, from anywhere else. So if you want to get any data from the region of Andalusia, everything is open and everything is in standard formats, which made that it's really into a citizen and the philosophy of open products, which is also very, very well. I worked with my students. Anybody can use all these products. They are accessible very easily. You can download all the information for free, which is really something that should be also well celebrated, because it's really, in the context of Spain, at least, it's not the reality of all regions. Don't think that this is in the whole of Spain. This is something very much due to the governments, the different governments that have support this development in the region. Well, there also we have this orthophotography of Andalusia. They also updated, as I mentioned. I don't want to get into the details, but you have different updates, regularly updates of the whole of Andalusia. Then, as a consequence of this regular updating of orthophotographies, all the rest of the products, of the cartographic products, are also regularly updated. So it's a sequence, it's a change, that once we get this orthophotography updated, the rest of the products are updated, well, not at once, but it's just like this. The policy, the cartographic policy of this institute is to update all the products available, most of them, we can say. So like public and private boundaries, environmental surveillance, cadastral updating, town planning, and many other cartographic production related to legal all needs of the administrative government. Also, terrain models are also with different resolutions up to 5.5. It's available and you can download it for any part of the region. And it's also one of the stars as well, and developed based on this PENOA project, this updating of orthophotography. And then this is a very popular product that it's called the spatial reference data, that it's a scale 100,000, which all the thematic variables in terms of human transport, cities, physical geography, anything. It's a really one of the star products in terms of, or the general knowledge of the region, because you have like detail, any variable, you can find it in this product, and it's very easy for researchers, for professionals, for teachers. At university, we use it a lot, and to produce any other output from any sector of society. So it's called data, the spatial reference data of Andalusia. And then you see, you get like one of the section, it's relief or landforms, geographical infrastructure with all the administrative divisions, hydrography, physical environment, marine, etc., etc. So this is all available as well for anybody. And well, again, this is used for many other sectors in the region, like emergency, touristic studies, that can just produce cartography based on this spatial reference data of the region. And well, then street maps, it is not open street map, but there's a local street map also produced by these institutes, and that makes, well, more related to business, location of population, and so on, that it's also used for like education, well, for the planning of all these infrastructures. It's also a unified digital street map produced by the local government, that it's called the CADAO. So for the planning and organization of the region is very important. And then there are other products that I just flash a little bit, that due to the Inspire directive has been also being produced in a grid format, not in a vector format, but in a grid format. So then we get like population distribution, urbanization, etc., in this raster to get like the density of all these well, variables in the territory, just following the Inspire directive. And then everything, it's also available for you if you want to get a look at in what is called the spatial data infrastructure of Andalusia. So it is where you can get well, the catalog, also a viewer where you can search for everything that is produced in a viewer, and also a geographical locator that it's called telegeo. So you can see there are many products available in this spatial data infrastructure. It's called the IDE Andalusia, where you can get all this data and services, tools, and everything what is related with this infrastructure, spatial infrastructure, and everything that you can get to other centers of production of different administrative sections that get together into this institute. Okay, as I was saying, everything is based on interoperable, on open source and OCG basis. So in order to be compatible and open to everybody. So everything is based on open source, which guarantees the accessibility of all this information to anybody. And then, well, I just finished here with my acknowledgements of from my colleagues, especially, well, this director of infrastructure of the institute, Agustin Villar, which offered me these last products of the institute, and also my colleague Jose Ojeda Zújar, that it's really a professional in cartography. And also I would like to thank on the German side Professor that brought me here, which is Mark Vetter and Professor I can just not get the name right, never. Weimer, that is invited me for this conference. So thank you very much, and I'm open to any question that Winfried, that it's thanks to him that I'm here as well, that organized and put everything together. And so thank you, Winfried and Mark and everybody there for attending the conference. I'm very pleased, and I hope that it was interesting for you. Well, I invite you to get a view of this new dimension of the Andalusian cartography that really make honor of the roots of these ancient historical roots that we have seen so many centuries. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm very happy to get any comments or questions from you. Thank you very much.